Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Finweek Money Matters. Remember, this is the show that helps you manage your finances. I'm Demisha Greater. Coming up on the show today, we'll be taking a look at the trends in the recruitment industry. We'll be discussing the outlook for Capitec Bank and consider a few under-the-radar shares you should consider for your portfolio. We'll also be joined by a panel of experts. We'll be discussing the performance of the four major banks right here in South Africa, and we'll be reviewing the first half and what the outlook is. But before we get into all of that, do remember that we welcome your comments, so you can send us your feedback to moneymatters@abn360.com. But first, let's take a look at the trend of the week. South Africa's slow growth has led to a number of private companies downscaling and shedding jobs in the process. This has made the recruitment industry a tough environment to operate in, as a large pool of job seekers fights over a limited number of available employment opportunities. In studio with me to tell us more about the state of the recruitment industry is Roly Boardman, Chairman of the African Professional Staffing Organisation. Thanks so much for making the time to join us, Roly.
It's my pleasure.
So we are very familiar with the term labour brokers.
Yes.
Can you tell us what the difference is between recruitment agencies and labour brokers?
Yeah, there's quite a big difference. They both fall under what we now call the staffing industry. Recruitment is generally people being placed in permanent jobs. So those agencies are working to client specification or to client order. Please find us skills to fill a particular position. They go off, they source those skills and they place them in a permanent job. The client takes them on permanently. That's it. Labor broking is what we also call the flexible staffing industry, where a company will come and say, we need, for seasonal reasons, we need extra labor, and the labor broker sources and places the required skills with the company. But they stay on the books and are employed by the labor broker and deployed at the client. So that's the big difference.
Okay, so we've seen the South African economy going through a very difficult time. A lot of jobs or a lot of companies are retrenching or downscaling. What impact has this had on the recruitment industry as a whole?
So I think the economy has been a little bit flat for quite some time now, since 2008. So there are a lot less job opportunities, which means that there is a lot less work for the recruitment industry. And so we've seen the numbers of people operating in the industry has declined quite a lot over the years. So it's a tough operating environment.
And I suppose looking at from a regulatory perspective, how has this helped or hurt the industry? So if you look at the fact that now contractors versus permanent workers, it's been said that South African labour legislation is too rigid. Not really. I think the biggest thing that happened in our industry is the introduction of some new laws at the beginning of this year, the most controversial of which has been the deeming provision. So the law now says that once a temporary worker has been deployed at a client for 3 months, they are deemed to be permanent. It's caused a lot of controversy in the industry because there have been different interpretations of what this means. So labor unions have decided that means my employment is now transferred to the client. I'm their permanent employee, and you, labor broker, disappear out of the picture. In fact, there was a CCMA case recently where the CCMA held that this is in fact what happens. After 3 months, you become the permanent employee of the company that you've been deployed at. Your employment contract transfers and the labor broker falls out of it. So that's created a lot of problems. I think there are something like 1 million temps daily in the South African market. So a lot of those jobs have actually been lost. We estimate somewhere around about 150,000 jobs were lost, which is something that this South African economy cannot afford to do. The CCMA ruling was taken on appeal at the Labour Court, and the Labour Court set that ruling aside. And they said, in fact, there is a dual relationship whereby if I place you as a temporary worker with a client, after 3 months, you are deemed to be permanent for the protections provided by the Labour Relations Act. So if they dismissed you unfairly, you would be able to take either them or us to the CCMA. And you would furthermore be entitled to equal treatment. So that's what it actually means. So that, as I said, has been set aside by the Labour Court. We're back to a dual relationship, but I think that there are more challenges on that one coming. And so, unfortunately, what this has done has created a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, which is really not good for jobs.
With this uncertainty in the marketplace, are you finding that there are particular jobs or job seekers that are easier to put in positions?
I think probably there are two answers to that question. Although we have very high unemployment, you find that it's very contradictory. There's high unemployment in the low skilled, and there's actually a shortage of skills in the highly skilled jobs. Strange but true, that's the way it's working. So if somebody has good qualifications, good skills, they are quite placeable. In the other sector, I would think that because of the government incentives, youth, which I think is people who are from 19 to 34, something like
Yes.
that. If you employ a graduate that falls into that youth bracket, you get a tax break known as the ETI. And so it makes it attractive for companies to hire people like that. So that's the easiest part of the market.
Roly, what do you say to, what would your advice be to people who are currently in the job market looking for jobs? What is your advice to them? Because it's tough out there.
It's tough out there, yeah. So I think that people need to develop a personal brand. So we're all unique individuals, but I see many CVs that look as though they came off a cookie cutter. They all look the same. And so people tend to copy other people's CVs, or they use a template that they find in MS Word, and then they just fill in a few gaps, and then they use that same CV to make lots of different job applications. So they're not marketing their difference to that employer. They need to find, what are my strengths, what are my selling points, how do I market that? And then they need to target themselves at a specific employer where they know their strengths will be used. It's quite a tough way of doing it, because it means that the person then has got to go and find out something about the market that they're wanting to target themselves at, and so take some homework. But if people are willing to do that, their homework will pay off.
Roly, thank you so much. Tailor-making your CV could be...
Tailor-making your CV.
Thank you so much.
What's your strength? Sell your strength. What makes you unique? Sell that. Make your personal brand.
Well, you've heard it. That was Roly Boardman, Chairman of the African Professional Staffing Organisation Ethics Committee. Time now for us to take a look at Finweek's Punt of the Week.